Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We are about to start round number 3 of our 5th week of the PSS5. I'm Michael Hoyp. I'm joined in the booth. Is this the first time you've done commentary for the PSS5? Is
For
it Brian?
PSS5, this is the first time you've allowed me.
Brian Kowal, BK. So
I'm very excited to be here.
yeah. So someone that
Talk about the Premodern.
I'm often in the booth with. If you've watched any of the coverage that we've done at the Misty Mountain tournaments, BK is the store owner of Misty Mountain. So, and you're also a PSS competitor yourself. So you're pretty familiar with.
I landed on the bubble. My heart was broken.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah, I think I had a graphic that said like you were like locked or something, and then like everything went wrong and you ended up 5th. So
thanks.
Apologies.
Thanks, Mike.
But anyways, let's take a look at what we have in front of us. We have Will Hirst, another Madison.
One of my favorite pre-modern players, Will Hirst.
Yeah, I would say I'm like the whole Madison gang's right here. So and then he's up against Tom Metelsky. So not a shabby player either. Yeah, on either side. So
pre-modern players.
Yeah, well, you could say that about like anyone in the PSS5. So maybe not.
I'll just because they're here, I'm going to say they're my favorite too.
All right. Well, let's jump down to look at what decks our players have available. So Will has brought Fluctuator, Sly, and then Stasis as his 3 decks. He played the Sly deck last week, and Tom has brought Blue-White Stiflenaught, Blue-White Landstill, and the Rock, and Tom played the Rock last week. So Will has the option of playing Fluctuator or Stasis up against Tom's options of Blue-White Dreadnought or Blue-White Standstill. So Tom will be playing a Blue-White list. Which one it'll be? Do you want to make a prediction, BK?
Which one Tom will take?
Either or both, yeah.
I think so I think Tom will probably take Dreadnought. So Dreadnought is a really good Fluctuator matchup. It cannot possibly lose.
Mm-hmm.
And Landstill has a decent Fluctuator matchup, right? But then like Stasis kind of crushes both of those decks, I think. So it's kind of like I think Will's going to play Stasis, so Tom is probably going to take the deck that he thinks is better against Stasis, which is probably I don't know. Dreadnought players, they think they beat all kinds of matchups, So there's always hope with the 12-12. I think he's going to take Dreadnought.
Okay. Let's jump down to the decks and see what they are playing. So Will is on the Stasis list. So if you're not familiar with what Stasis does, it tries to get Forsaken City, Stasis, and then Black Vice is kind of just like the trifecta. Your opponent's not able to untap, you're able to exile a card and just keep the Stasis around, and eventually your opponent's going to accumulate cards in their hand and die. Will has played this Stasis deck a lot, and he has changed cards, he's tried different things. He's very familiar with the strategy, and he has his own little touches. I mean, so I know he's moved away from a card like Arcane Denial, which is really popular in a lot of lists. He has like main deck annuls, and just cards like there's a mana short in the main or like a seal of removal. So little touches that I think from his experience playing that he said like, okay, I understand this deck has these weaknesses, and I think these cards would really shore up the problems of this deck. So I like it when Will plays this deck because I think he's played this deck a lot more than pretty much any other pre-modern player that I know. I feel like he's played a ton of Stasis. So
he loves Stasis.
Yep.
That's for sure. That's one thing you can say about Will Hirst. He loves Stasis.
Yes. All right.
I love the 1 mana short. I gotta say that.
There's 3 more in the sideboard, I would say, if it really comes down to it. So
jeez.
He will be up against Tom in the hands of the Blue-White Stiflenaught list. So as you predicted. So we saw a mono blue Stiflenaught list earlier in the evening, but this one is the blue-white list, which I think is kind of the standard at this point. It's probably more common than the mono blue list at this point. So Meddling Mage, and then mostly sideboard cards. I guess there is a Swords to Plowshares in the main, but obviously in this matchup it's not very a big role player. But the deck is trying to assemble a Dreadnought with a Stifle and a Vision Charm and protect it. And the addition of Meddling Mage in this matchup specifically, I guess you preemptively probably just name Chain of Vapor every time because it's both good at answering the Dreadnought and like a key card of like when stasis is in play. A lot of sequences the stasis players will end a turn. I'll Chain of Vapor my stasis and then untap and then play the stasis. So
yeah, it has to be by far the it's always so important in the matchup.
And so it'll be interesting to see like both these decks have a lot of counter magic, and the game could get into a point where they're really like jockeying for position, and so it'll be interesting to see how players pick their spots. So
the big thing I want to see is mana short countering a Dreadnought.
Okay. Well, wait. Oh yeah. Yep.
Like they play Dreadnought in response, will mana shorts.
Sure.
I want to see that happen.
Sure, that'd be cool. It's a possibility. All right, I'll jump out of the match. I'll quick let our players know that they can begin. Looks like Tom has mulled 6 and Will is on 7. And I'll get this Cloud Thresher off the screen and bring up a lovely stasis. All right, if you had to pick one of these decks, which side would you want to be on?
I would want to be stasis.
I think so too.
I've seen many a blue-white landstill deck wander into Misty Mountain saying like they didn't think their stasis match was that bad, and see like Will or Adrian like pick them apart.
Yeah, I think
the Dreadnought. None of those guys are Tom Metelsky.
The Dreadnought deck does a better job, I think, of.
Oh yeah, he's Dreadnought. Oops.
Does a better job of playing out his hand, but actually maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Meddling Mage changes the matchup for I don't know why I got on Landstill. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
I don't know where I am. Anyway, I think Dreadnought has a rough time with stasis. I've also seen Will beat many Dreadnought decks with stasis. He's like very familiar with the matchup. He hasn't played against the blue-white version that much, but
okay.
We'll see what happens.
All right, so important for Tom, he'll rearrange the top 3 cards, then he'll pass a turn. Will is just going to play an island and then send it back to Tom.
Mm-hmm.
So with the Black Vice, okay, he did take a couple damage.
Yeah. How many ways does this Dreadnought deck have to get cards out of its hand? You know, like
not a lot.
Without like, just going for it earlier than it probably wants to. I think.
Well, I would say because most of the cards are counter spells or the cards that like replace themselves. So like the Ops and the Gushes and the Portents, like those are all net 0. So you just need to play out lands, and like Dreadnought's really the Dreadnought and Meddling Mage are the ways you go down and so it's like almost like Will could almost just, other than a Dreadnought, just like not counter stuff. I mean, I guess you might need to counter a Meddling Mage, so maybe that's not true. But because all the other cards that Tom has will draw him cards that he's able to play. So this Black Vice actually could be a really quick clock against the Dreadnought. It's funny like how quickly a 12/12 kills someone, but I guess Black Vice is just going to do all the damage.
It's a game of 1-mana artifacts killing people.
Yeah, I know some people have had the theory of like Black Vice, you don't need a lot of copies in the Stasis deck because you can just like lock them out and make the game go really long. But it's kind of funny like how often you can just get these. I mean, it's not like a free win here. But it definitely changes the way that Tom has to play this entire game. Like
it's pressure.
Yeah. You don't have the luxury of just sitting around and saying like I'm going to wait until turn 14 where I have 7 islands in play and I'm in 2 Gushes and foils and like a bunch of stuff to get in a huge counter battle. That's no longer an option.
Will's gonna hardcast a Daze here. That's cool. Cool play.
There could be. Is there a second Daze or is this a stasis?
I'm guessing a second Daze to set up a stasis possibly. Nope, it's gonna be a thwart.
That's a costly thwart.
All his islands. Yeah, that's a very aggressive thwart, I think. But he's given a lot of credit to this Meddling Mage. And
I mean, one thing is that like Will might have not had another land drop, so like picking up the 3 lands, like if you know if you weren't going to hit a 4th land drop anyways, doesn't hurt as bad, but I don't know. It certainly makes it harder for Will to like get in a fight in the next turn if Tom were to go for Dreadnought.
Tom is foiling back, which is going to give him under that vice and resolve his meddling mage on a chain of vapor.
Okay. A very good sequence, I think, for Tom.
Yeah, I think he's down to 2 cards now. So off to the races. We're going to start seeing the life total swing in the other direction.
All right, that meddling mage is doing some work, and Will is going to build back. I guess from Will's perspective, the good thing is that a Dreadnought didn't immediately come down after that. I think then the things could have shifted, but I mean,
yeah,
there's a sealer removal, I think, and that's about it to like get rid of this meddling mage. I guess a stasis would keep it tapped if it were attacking, but
yeah, I think a stasis could still do some things here, but I guess if he gets Will down to 12, he's in a situation where Will has to fight over every single Dreadnought, right? Mm-hmm. And he's at that position now.
Yeah, Tom. Okay, he hit another land drop. I would say like if Tom was taking damage from the Black Vice, so and it's just funny like if he draws a card like Gush, you just like look at that and like against a Black Vice and you're like, this is not the card I wanted to draw. No, this meddling mage is just putting in work. It's just funny like how many times that you just have a pre-modern match and like a meddling mage comes down and just attacks like 8 times.
Oh yeah. I just had one the other day.
Which end were you on? Were you the meddling major or the meddling mage?
I was getting meddling mage.
Okay. What is the most obscure card that you had someone meddling mage against you in pre-modern?
Let's see. Man, I don't feel like I'm usually maging, not getting meddling maged.
Someone named like a non-pre-modern legal card accidentally. I think it was like Eliminate or something. They meant to name Smother.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But obviously, it was clear what they were intending.
Fact or fiction was weird. I mean, that's pretty normal, I guess.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
That one was kind of rough. I haven't had anybody named Cross and Tusker yet, but it's bound to happen. That'll be the ultimate Tusker victory.
I guess it's probably not the best to name Crows and Tusker because you can still always cycle it.
You do have that out, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
so.
I mean, if you're worried about a 6/5, you're worried about a 6/5, right?
Chad has said you should just name the card You Are Already Dead. That way you can't die, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that card does though.
It's from Neon Dynasty, I believe. Yep.
Destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn. Draw a card.
Mm.
All right, I'll update the life totals.
All right. Lead change. Tom is now winning. 9-8.
Did he just cast a Dreadnought and have it die? Did we? There's a Dreadnought in the graveyard, right?
No, I think he just.
No, he'd be taking a lot more damage if he was discarding a hand size,
I think
right?
he Vision Charmed himself. I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe he Vision Charmed himself in order to not
to
be under the vice and hit it. I think it might have been something like that.
I'm gonna bring up. It's funny, like Vision Charm has. I guess. Do you think there's ever going to be a time where Tom is going to use a Vision Charm to like change all the basic land types of Will?
It's one way out of a stasis.
Yeah.
Or is it?
Chad has asked, what is Will holding on to? And Chad had also said he hasn't cast an Impulse, and now he has cast an Impulse. I don't know. I mean, like, there are a lot of counter spells in the stasis deck. Chain of Vapors. It also could be he's worried about deploying like the the thing about the blue white deck, like if Will has a stasis in his hand, like he can go to 4 like really comfortably. Like the difference between like 4 and like
Right, right.
12 is
Yeah.
negligible. And so
And here's where I think that mana short's really big, because if he mana shorts Tom and gets to untap, play the stasis, tap meddling mage, like he could still steal this game, with the right combination of cards.
well, yeah, I would say like he only needs like cards to go into Tom's hand. Like Tom's at 7. Like just a stasis, I think could be enough. Like, and then you just pay for it
But
for 4 turns.
Tom does not have a lot of ways to remove it, right?
No. Oh, Vision
Vision
Charm.
Charm doesn't stop stasis though, because he can just float a blue, right?
Oh, okay. I guess that's correct.
Second Vice, how's that feel? This is
Well,
called bait.
probably. I mean, like, because the if you just don't cast anything, that it makes the black place that's in play better, right? Because this is opening up an opportunity for Tom to cast counter spells, and so the second one kills him a little bit quicker, but I don't know if it really matters. So I don't know. I do agree. I think this does seem like this might be bait. It does.
Will still play? He's countering it. Does Will still play a stroke?
I do not think so. Let me pull up his list real quick.
Because that's a nice stasis trick too. Is a stroke of genius to your opponent at the end of their turn to make him die to Vices.
He does not have a stroke of genius.
Yeah, Tom was taking damage from that Vice that turn, so countering does like get him down in cards in hand and stop him taking more damage.
I guess the second one is more problematic than maybe I was leading it.
All right, here's a mana short.
All right, and if this is resolving,
we'll tap all Tom's lands and empty his mana pool.
Yep, and like I said, Will's at 4, which keeps him alive. Like if something really goes wrong, he has like 1 untapped step, and like the meddling mage would get in for 2. But in theory, this might be the spot where Will is going for it. I would say I'm looking at Will's hands. He has his cards on the table, and his hands are just folded right in front of him. He just looks very comfortable. So I'm reading that body language as like this is a situation that he kind of set up.
He's been sculpted into this, yeah. I think. Do you think Will was waiting with those 2 impulses just to see what kind of cards he would attain, and then he can use the impulses to get the best things to go with it?
I mean, I will say I do think that is something that's overlooked. I think it is a really fine line that like a lot of times just like using your mana earlier is better in a lot of decks. But even in like in the land still lists, there is a lot of value of just like seeing a few more draw steps, and it's like, okay, I drew a Swords of Plowshares, I don't need a second one. I'll just find more counter magic.
Or when you use those cards to fix your mana early, and then like all those draws are kind of dead later.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think we have a good think about this mana short. The fun part about mana short is it still taps you down, even if you try to stop it.
Yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised if Will has a backup counterspell, even if Tom has. I mean, it's got to be okay. He's tapping all his mana, so the mana short looks like it resolved.
Big short. All right, let's see what Will is going to do with it. He's got 7 cards in hand.
It's got to be stasis, right?
It's got to start with the stasis, I think.
I mean, that would just be enough, right? Oh, there's a gush.
There's a gush. Will's the type who would gush before playing the stasis.
There's a Forsaken City.
Yes, it is. And we'll see.
I'm just waiting. I mean,
the showman here. Making us wait.
All right, there we go. There.
No untap steps.
I mean, there still could be a card for like foil from Tom.
chances are there's at least one free counter spell out here, right?
Yeah, but
he has played around days.
I will also think that Will has some amount of counter magic in his hand too. That would make sense that you do lead with Gush, so you can have more fuel, more cards to discard, more chances at another counter spell from Will's perspective to fight this foil that you're expecting, I guess.
Then again, it is now or never time.
Yes.
So like there's no way he's not casting that stasis, right? You might as well give yourself the sweat of gush trying to gush into a counter spell.
All right, foil is going to discard an island and a stifle.
All right. We call that a few turns to get out of a vice.
Yeah, but if this stasis resolves, is there anything Tom can do? There's a counterspell from Will. We've got Tempest counterspell versus Mercadian
Red
Mask.
Tempest counterspell. Get the pig on the deck.
As a reminder to pay for stasis.
Add a card waste for Tom. Gonna give him one valuable mana. This is always an interesting part of the game too, is like trying to figure out how you're going to spend your very limited amount of mana against stasis that can really separates the good players against stasis from the bad. But Tom has been set up without much to work with. That's one reason I think that it's one reason I think Mana Short's a pretty great one of in this list.
Certainly has paid dividends in this match.
Yeah, because a smart player is just going to leave all their lands untapped, for just never cast anything they don't have to.
Ryan Grudzinski says, can we take a moment to appreciate the thought and effort both players put into their island choices? Very classy on both accounts. Unlike someone else in this channel that will not be mentioned.
What?
I don't know who he's alluding to.
Is he talking about your Portal Islands or your?
I don't know.
Or your Unglued Islands?
Maybe. I would say Tom uses those a lot anyway. So
he's not talking about my Lightning Bolt Islands, is he? Who knows? That guy throws so much shade.
He's referring to Ron, another Stasis player. So, but he does use, I think, the Urza Saga ones.
Well, I thought he was talking about one of us. Woo!
All right, the cards that were exiled first to pay for Forsaken City was Chain of Vapor, and then Daze.
Tom has started to take vice damage.
It's going to add up pretty quickly, I think.
It's pretty big that just in this matchup, Will can gush and Tom cannot. So
yeah,
most powerful card in a blue mirror like this, and the other one player is just afraid to ever cast it.
Yeah, certainly when Will has the full 4 Black Vice, there are certain situations that the Black Vice isn't down yet. Gush seems decent, like you returning islands so that you can untap lands and get extra cards, but the added pressure is just problematic a lot of the time.
For sure. Will and I have talked about a number of Black Vices many times. I think we both think 4 is kind of correct. A lot of people call it training wheels, but sometimes you want a good pair of training wheels. The goal is to kill them with a vice anyway, right?
Yeah, I like the vices. It just adds a dimension from your deck where the game, this game is just way different if a Black Vice doesn't come down right away.
Okay, got a Meddling Mage from Tom.
What are you naming here?
I don't know.
Gosh,
does this seem like bait? I don't know. Will's at 4. You
No.
know,
Tom's tapped out. Like, what's he gonna do? He's dazing his own spell so they
I
can
think
pick up
he's
an
just trying
island.
to get cards out of his hand.
Yeah. I
The daze doesn't do it though. Keeps him at the same amount.
sure. But he's able to play the land.
That's true. You can play the one that Will knows about. Oh, nope, it's not a daze. Will patiently paying a mana at a time. There's a foil.
All right. It's doing a good job of getting cards out of your hand. The problem is like here we talked about 4 and 2. Like being at 4 life is a lot better than being at 2. Because this meddling mage could resolve and get in there once.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tom still might die to the Black Vice.
Will tapping all the way down. Still has his Forsaken City to keep his stasis going. Anybody hear my dog drinking water right now?
That's what I'm like. I'm just trying to think. I'm like, that's gotta be what it was. Unless you were like strumming your fingers on the desk. I'm like, oh, that's probably Hopper drinking water.
That's my boy. He gets thirsty.
Yeah.
He's a big dog in summer. He shares it with everybody. What is that?
I don't know. Chat. Yeah, I would say it's you're cropped a lot, so they could see a little bit of him.
They probably can't see him.
Maybe when we do our post game breakdown, they'll have more opportunities for him to get in frame.
He usually finds his way on screen at least once every time we're on here.
All right, this one is naming Seal of Removal. That's a 1 of in the deck, so.
So Will at an effective 2 tapped out.
Is that a foil? What card is that?
I think. I don't know.
No.
These kids using their new cards.
I think it's a null. I think I ask this every time.
He said a null.
It is. Right. It is a null. Well, there's like 8 different annuls at this point, and so
Will is down to 2.
It's a tie game.
Tom's hope is to draw to another land so he can hopefully play a third meddling mage. And then I think he can win. So he's sculpted that out for himself, which is pretty solid, pretty awesome. He only has 1 more white source in his deck, I believe. Well, I guess he has because he has his planes in play already.
Yep.
So he's got 1 Addercar Waste that can cast that meddling mage. Unless I'm wrong. So he is on 5 now.
All right, he's got another land. He stayed alive.
Down to 4. Down to 4. New life.
This is about like on the edge of the seat as I can get for like a stasis. I don't.
Will pays.
I don't know what Tom is. He going to resolve a Dreadnought in this position? It seems pretty unlikely.
He could also win with a Dreadnought. You're right.
I mean, it just seems hard though. Like for that to resolve. I guess Will does not have a lot of open mana.
He's got to play 1. He's going to take 1 point of damage on his next turn. What is Tom going to do to escape the vice? Find victory in this game 1.
I'm just trying to think, like, how many cards can Tom cast and get out of his hand? Vision Charm?
Yeah.
Phyrexian Dreadnought. Swords. Well, he can't cast swords.
Could
That's,
he have stifled the Forsaken City to kill the stasis at that one point? I wonder, would that have been
uh,
a
I mean,
possible?
it wouldn't necessarily like kill the stasis because like the stasis trigger's still on the stack, so you just would then spend a mana.
Right, but when he was tapped out, like
Oh,
that
well,
turn
if there
they
was a
had
spot
like
then.
counter war. I wonder if a stifle, had he had a stifle, if it could have won him the game.
Yeah, I
It would have
mean,
been pretty sweet.
yeah, something that I have not thought about, and I wonder if Will is conscious of, because that could be a situation where you're really relying on that untap, and because I
Yeah.
think usually like Wasteland is a card that you think about, and that's not present in the Stifle Knot list, so that might be like, oh, my Forsaken City's safe, but it's not 100% because of the Stifle that you mentioned. Yeah, I think Tom is gonna try and figure out like if there's anything he can do because
Trying to figure out if you can play a card.
these are his last few turns. It should be.
Yeah.
I don't foresee this game going longer. I mean,
Looks like about 2 turns no matter what.
well, I would say like foil could change that that math.
Well, Tom is texting his friends.
Phone a friend.
Phone a friend. Lanny, what do I do here? He could play his own spell and foil it. That's
Tom says, confirming I played an island last turn. Last turn?
Last turn he played it. He has not played a land this turn.
Okay.
He was phoning us.
Yes.
Yeah, he hasn't played a land yet.
Okay. Yes. So he has not played land this turn? No.
I am 90% sure he has not played a land this turn. Because I was even like talking through, like, will he play a card after he drew, you know? Like, through my deft coverage, I know.
Well, I mean, like, because if I'm in Tom's position, my gut reaction would be play every land that I can. Yeah. But I mean, maybe if foil is in your hand, that you would want to be keeping an island.
Yeah, it's possible if you're not taking damage anyway, that you don't want to play that island. So he might be thinking, well, okay, hey, if I have this opt here, do I foil my own opt, or do I play this island and then I'm in a rough spot next turn? Or do I gush here? I could gush here. I'm Tom and I'm gushing.
You could foil this. Would you foil your own gush?
Would you foil your own gush? It still puts returning the islands and discarding the islands.
You get to discard one other card.
So thick if Will tries countering the gush and then Tom has the foil that he was going to play on his own gush.
I mean,
yeah, this is what Will's like. This is what I want. More cards in your hand. You baboon.
Do you not understand how Black Slice works?
You know what's happening here, Metelsky?
We've got a Dreadnought.
All right. It's a Dreadnought. And it's going to be... Does it resolve? It's like a foil on the Dreadnought. I think this is smart, right? Because Tom is less likely to have another Dreadnought in his hand than 2 ways to keep it around. So you want to stop the Dreadnought and not the blue spell? What do you think?
Sorry, I was looking at chat. What did you say?
Will is foiling the Dreadnought.
Okay.
I think it's smarter to do that than go after the Stifle or Vision Charm. But I guess you probably count the likelihood of each.
Well, are you saying because of Black Vice?
No, because like Tom has 2 more mana. Tom does have a second Dreadnought though.
Oh, you're saying because if you're more likely to have a backup Vision Charm or Stifle than a backup Dreadnought. Okay.
Right. Yeah. It's a close one. It's a good game.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know how long Tom has had the Dreadnought in hand. We talked about like Will taking a bunch of damage from the Meddling Mage so that he could set up the Mana Short and the
Okay,
Stasis.
so Tom Vision Charmed. That means it doesn't come back, right?
Correct. Yes, with the player skipping their untap step because of Stasis and phasing. Wait.
Nope. I think Tom might have thought it coming back and it didn't.
Okay.
No.
I mean, it does get cards out of his hand.
Yeah. Worth doing, but yeah, I guess so. I think if that's the case, I think I would have let the Dreadnought resolve because
Vision
Tom's
Charms are useless.
Tom's only out is Stifle then. Yeah. I'll yell at Will later about that. Don't worry, chat.
I forgot about that. I forgot that the Vision Charm with the Stasis in play, and I know people have talked about it because I think, like, we talked about like Winter Orb and Stasis or whatnot. I guess, but yeah, I would say like Mike Arnold brings up a point. You can just phase out a Black Vice and kill it then, right?
You can.
Your Vision Charms just become. That makes this matchup way different.
I've never seen anybody do that. Has that ever happened in the history of Premodern? Did Mike Arnold just break it?
That makes this.
Rich has probably done that every match he's played this. I bet Rich Shea does it, and none of us do.
Rich says he has done that, but yeah, Will does take it down thanks to the Black Vice. But like,
Rich says he likes this matchup on the Dreadnought side, so Rich probably just knows that he can Vision Charm Black Vices, and the rest of us are just tools who have no idea. At least I am.
Yeah, that actually makes me kind of rethink how this matchup plays out. But let's take a look at the sideboards and kind of dissect everything. All right, I have the Stifle list. There is a Hydroblast, a Blue Elemental Blast, a Flash of Insight, a Winter Orb, 3 Swords of Plowshares, a Null, 2 Curse Totem, 2 Disenchant, 2 Last Breath, and an Armageddon.
All right. I really like the Winter Orb, and I like the Annul, and I like the Disenchants, and I don't mind the Armageddon. That sounds fun too, but it might be bad against the Gush deck. I guess I don't know if I bring in.
I like Flash of Insight, I think.
Yeah, Flash is fine.
Yeah, there's a lot of cards for Tom. So you do like Winter Orb?
I love a Winter Orb, but I don't know if I love Armageddon.
Well, so explain to me why you like Winter Orb, because I've thought about this when I played Stasis and it doesn't work out as well as I like. But
I think Stasis wants to chain of Vapor at Stasis, right?
Yeah.
To untap. Mm-hmm. So then they have to bounce the Winter Orb.
Yeah.
The Winter Orb becomes a thing that they can't leave on the table. So like one orb isn't good, but if you have orb, a second thing they have to bounce, like say Phyrexian Dreadnought, then it's
because I would say the sequence usually is target your own Stasis, it resolves, and then because the way chain is, you're able to copy it, and then you sack a land and then bounce the Winter Orb.
Stasis always gets to bounce your best permanent, so you might as well play more. You want to play more good permanents, not less, because your whole plan is to stick a good permanent, right?
All right. What cards do we not want? So Swords to Plowshares. You probably take out
Swords to Plowshares.
You take out Dazes? Do you take out? You take out. There's no. You take out Impulses? I don't know. You take out Ops? I don't know. Or Portents? I'm not sure. Just fill your deck. Yeah. Do you take out Gush? It sounds weird, but maybe I don't know.
It does. Yeah. I don't feel right about it.
All right. I'll look at Will's list. He has 2 Annuls, 2 Blue Elemental Blasts, 3 copies of Brain Freeze, a Zurin Orb, 3 Mana Shorts, a Felden's Cane, 2 Hydroblasts, and a Propaganda. Are you bringing these Brain Freeze against the Stifle deck?
No. I might. I kind of like the Propaganda, despite it being a 12/12 that they don't have to pay 2 mana for. But like, it's not bad. Encouraging them to have mana, especially again. I think Propaganda is like pretty solid against Meddling Mage. I could see more Mana Shorts. I don't hate Mana Shorts, and I like the Annuls.
That's a lot of cards, though. Like I don't know if you can bring in that many cards.
Yeah, I don't know either.
The one thing that like I don't know if it's something that Will would do, but like you could cut some number of Chain of Vapors because you're gonna assume that like Meddling Mage is gonna name it always, and it kind of mitigates like the strength of Meddling Mage then.
I do that all the time when I play blue green, the blue green beast deck. I always take a counter spell out because they always name counter spell first.
Okay. I was taking some Pernicious Steeds out of my deck one time, and like because he was gonna name with Meddling Mage anyways, and I'm like, all right. Yeah, that's the one thing is like Will has different angles I think he can take, but I don't think he can bring them all in. I don't think he can bring in Annuls, Brain Freezes, Mana Shorts, and Propaganda. I think that's just too many cards. So it'll be interesting to see like how he kind of wants to shape and sees this post board game going.
I don't think you want Brain Freeze in this matchup, but I am wrong.
Rich says snap, bring in Brain Freeze.
Yeah.
But
all right. You take out Stasis then? Is Stasis not that great and you just play a Brain Freeze game?
You could do that. But I mean like the one thing
Take
is
out
Stasis is not that good against I mean I don't know. Well, you could cut the if you bring in the Brain Freeze, I think you cut the Black Vice, right?
Yeah, you take up all the Stasis, all the Black Vice.
Well, I don't know if you take out all the Stasis then.
Sure, I don't know. I mean,
because like the Stasis still like makes Tom. If you're considering his deck a life this life total, well, it slows him down a lot.
How are you killing them though if you don't have Vice?
It gives you the time that you can like Tom's going to cast some amount of spells, and then you're going to get in a counter fight over the Stifle and just try and Brain Freeze him. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'm not exactly sure what players plan to do or what's optimal, but if you cut Stasis, how do you win? Brain Freeze. That's what we were talking about.
I think I want to be a Stasis deck against Dreadnought. Like, why get rid? I don't like. I guess why get rid of a bunch of cards that are really good against them? You know, why get rid of Chain of Vapors when they're really good against them? Why get rid of Stasis when you're really good against them?
Yeah.
The Vice is good against it. Like, I think he's set up to be pretty decent in this matchup. So I guess I don't know why I would like move towards a Brain Freeze plan.
I mean, we saw Will go on a Brain Freeze plan against Lanny with a Grotog deck, which, I mean, obviously is a different deck, but I was a little bit surprised, I guess, at first that he valued the Brain Freeze plan so much.
That one's a little different because they have like lots of cheap threats that they don't have to like combo. They can just like. I think it's a little different.
I mean, they also don't have Stifle. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I subscribe to this Rich Shea magazine of Brain Freeze economics in this economy. Is that what they say in this economy?
Yeah. Yes. Players are always asking. I'm like, you guys can always just start your sideboarded games.
Oh, are they starting already?
Yeah. All right. Tom is going to start things off with a Portent off an Adhikar Waste. So I have to imagine that's indicating that he has not a lot of lands.
A common situation for the Dreadnought deck. They only play like 17.
I mean, I have to think that Tom's hand is pretty good otherwise. Otherwise, you might mulligan, right?
All spells.
Sure. Or just more Adhikar wastes. Just all Adhikar wastes.
I think taking days out might be bad in this matchup too, because Tom Tom can win fast, right? Like if you don't have, I guess they take their days out too. I don't know. Will plays an island. Shrek in the background.
Yep, an appearance from Shrek.
All right, there's a meddling mage. Yeah, this is some ways you want a daze too, right?
Yeah.
Stasis, he says.
Interesting that is. So does that mean anything? Like, I mean, my gut was just you named Shame No Vapor again. So why?
It might mean that Tom took out his dreadnoughts, but probably not. I don't know. Like, is that a plan for Tom? Just like go meddling mage, counter spells, all his counters.
I don't think so.
The meddling
Maybe
mage is the best card in the matchup, right? Like,
I think probably. I mean, it's just too ambitious to the thought that you're going to be able to resolve and not have a dreadnought bounced. But I mean, stasis doesn't help. I guess it helps against fight a dreadnought if you take one hit, but I mean that can only happen once.
this puts him in a kind of a great position, right? Like just air control. You know, I'm Grotog with way less threats, and if I just stop you from doing anything for 10 turns, like that's it.
I guess either way, like if let's say he names Chain, then he's attacking every turn. Will goes mana short, and I have a stasis. So here, now for that to happen, Will needs to have Chain of Vapor, stasis, and mana short. So he needs to have an extra card. So I guess it makes sense in that aspect, right?
He also has to blow a chain before playing stasis now.
Right.
Puts him in a bad position later. I like it.
Chad has said this stream would be 100% better if it was Mike and BK's voices, but they had pets in the camera instead.
Probably.
I do not think my dog would sit on my lap for a very long time at all.
What if we just put GoPros on their faces? You know, somehow.
My dog likes to sleep a lot, so.
Well, Hopper's out cold right now.
I would say when my dog moves, I guess it would be kind of. She gets zoomies in the evening every now and then, so that would be pretty exciting. Is that PSS 6? Is just GoPro animals?
Dogs playing Magic.
Yeah.
Dogs playing Premodern.
People were joking. I think it was in our PSS chat about like when do we get to the point where we just have a PSS, but it's all of our children entering in the gauntlet.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
In 6 years, it's probably the first round of that.
I'll say I'd be in a good spot then. My oldest would be 18 then. So, all right, we've got a meddling mage attempted from Tom. Will has a counterspell, but Tom has a foil that discards an island and the white card. Is that a disenchant?
It was a disenchant. Arena disenchant.
Arena disenchant.
Will is going to thwart. Turn 3 islands. I gave Will those islands. Just mention that.
Yeah, Mike's daughter already plays, so she has a leg up on the advantage. She's got some skills already.
Your daughter doesn't play?
No.
No.
If she
She does
asked,
not touch. He does not touch Mike's cards.
she,
That's first rule.
there was one time like she had her friend over and she's like, "Dad, how much are your magic? What's your most expensive magic card worth?" And I'm like, I don't think I want to say this because this is just going to tempt your friend just to come steal my magic cards. Like what? Like,
Because kids steal stuff.
well,
They do.
even if I
No,
told
they
her,
do.
I'm like, my underground seas are expensive. Like, how is she going to find that underground sea? Like,
That's Dreadnought. Yeah, you can't touch. You can't trust children. Oh, it's a mana short.
a mana short in response to a Pyrexene Dreadnought. This is what you've been waiting for.
This is it. This is doing it. He's gonna daze floating blue. It didn't happen.
It was attempted.
And stifle.
So the Dreadnought's in play. But the melee mage is not on Chain of Vapor. Oh, but Will doesn't have it, and he's gonna die to a jumbo shrimp. So we're gonna go to game 3. So that game is just completely different than what the first one was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think Black Vice was the only reason. Like, not Will not having a turn 1 Black Vice, but I guess the early meddling mage, I guess, was probably the bigger difference.
Yeah.
Would you say
Yeah. I
that?
wonder if.
Would you say that Will came up a little bit short that game?
Yeah. Short was not enough.
Yeah. Ryan has asked, the immediate scoop there, is that a signal that he sided out the Chain of Vapors? Did he not draw?
Possibly.
Did he not even draw a card? I thought he did, but maybe he didn't.
I don't know if he did. Was that the Rich Shea sideboard plan taking out Chain of Vapor? I want to scroll back.
I don't think he said take that. I think he said he would bring in the Brain Freeze. He said he would keep the chains in.
Okay. Sorry, Rich.
Just like to poke people.
Me?
Yeah.
Steal 3 days, 1 stasis for 3 freeze, 2 short. You don't like the propaganda? Yeah, that seems sweet. Tap you out. Play all my stuff.
I mean, like,
it's the hook.
The propaganda is only good if you have. Is propaganda even that good?
Yeah.
Why? Like, if they have a meddling mage in play, but then they're fine. I'm attacking you for 2. I'll pay 2. Like, half that game, that would have been fine. You just don't attack that one turn and then resolve a Dreadnought.
Yeah, I guess if you name stasis, that's true. Yeah. If you name's chain, though, it's good. Because then they they got to pay their mana, attack you, and then you play stasis.
If there's a stasis in play, you don't need a propaganda, do you? Like,
no, but before the stasis comes down, it's very worthwhile having your opponent pay 2 mana to attack you.
All right.
Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, like, that game, I don't think it would have been a big deal. Like, if Tom just spends all his turns just like paying 2 and attacking, okay, you get him down to 12. He has to attack like one more turn, and then one turn he just doesn't attack, and then he plays his Dreadnought. I mean, I guess I didn't pay attention to like how much like Tom used his mana every turn. So I can't say for certain, but
I mean, it changes what Will does if he's tapped on mana. Other turns, I think maybe. I mean, he never saw Chain of Vapor, so.
People are talking about seal removal, and if you're taking out seal in this matchup, then it's like, why are you playing the card? This is probably like when it's at its best. And then Raph K Run says that means Mother of Runes is unplayable as well.
Never live that one down.
All right. Will's got a couple of islands. Tom is going to start with an opt.
I don't know about taking days out either. I think Tom needs to present threats early. If the game goes long, it's Stasis's game.
Well, I mean, Rich was suggesting for Will to board out the days. So you're saying Will needs the days to interact with to interact with the early game.
I think Will wants days in his deck. I think Tom doesn't.
Okay.
Because like it's a 17-land deck. Come on, man. It's gonna counter some spells.
All right, Tom will spend a new mana for Portent. Gonna look at the top three. These are staying on top. And he will play a Flooded Strand and pass. So he's got the Portent Flooded Strand combo. Is that more or less powerful than the combo of Dreadnought plus Stifle?
I think it's definitely more. If you ask any Legacy player, it's much more powerful. Not that he used it. That just means he had 2 really good cards on top of stuff.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't know. I think Tom knows. All right. Getting rid of 1 bad card for sure. Those Invasion Islands?
Those are Onslaught.
Onslaught?
You're talking about Tom's, right?
Yep. I know Ice Age.
Let's see which island my fetcher brings up for Onslaught. It is that one. Yep. I do like that island, but it's not my favorite Onslaught island.
We're to the stage of the Mono Blue Mirror where we're talking about islands. I'm sorry I put us here.
That's all right. I would say if I would pick a basic land, there are a lot of islands I like from like the same set. And I won't say that. I don't think that's true for like other land types. Do you feel that way, or are you not as particular? I feel like a lot of times I'm like, oh, I like the set, the lands from the set, and I'm like, oh, there's like 3 of the 4 islands I really like, and then I like one of the plains and not the other ones, or kind of thing.
I never liked the plains.
Never liked the plains.
Mirage plains are half of them are good. Like the 2.
2 of them are almost like exactly the same, at least.
But they're cool. They got animals in them.
Animals that could have GoPros on them.
Exactly.
You put a GoPro on a bird, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Somebody has to have done that by now, right?
How heavy are GoPros?
I don't know. I think they're kind of heavy. The average bird probably can't.
I mean, if you put it on like a hawk, I probably could.
Who's making an unladen swallow joke?
Actually, I don't know the physics of a bird. Like, if a bird ate too much, is it like not able to fly?
GoPros on eagles, okay. The chat says.
That sounds like a really bad band name. GoPros on eagles.
That'll be our cover band. GoPros on eagles.
Is Tom discarding the hand size?
Yeah, that was a disenchant from the yard.
Discarding a disenchant.
Who's gonna blink?
All right, Will also going to discard. He'll discard a daze.
Left him in.
Robin's making fun of our conversations.
GoPros on eagles.
No, me discussing if a bird eats too much, does it lose the ability to fly?
Maybe for a little while. It can carry fish, you know. Like,
well, I mean, not like a robin. A robin can't carry fish. I don't know, but like
yeah.
I don't know how many berries a robin would need to eat that it would get that heavy. But yeah,
That's one of the age-old questions. Google. I'm gonna Google it. How many berries? Berries. Robin have to eat.
Do you think this has been like scientifically tested?
Winter's end, robins eat a lot of berries. They also eat as many worms as they can find at the start of a spring migration. There's some robin berry facts here, but none about filling up so much that they can't fly.
Should I make a poll to see what Twitch chat thinks?
Well, we got a dreadnought on the stack, so let's pause.
All right.
Well, we got a dreadnought.
We'll get there.
Robin talk. Are we talking about this because Robin is in the chat?
I don't know.
All right, Will is going to mana short in response to this dreadnought. Man, BK, you really know your interactions, don't you? Counter spell. It's going to be a thwart. Floating to blue.
All right. How many spells are... See, is this a spot where you'd want to brain freeze? I don't even know.
I think so.
But it's kind of like if the Dreadnought resolves, then does the brain freeze mean anything?
I think I'd bring in one brain freeze just in case this happened. I don't know. Here's a foil.
So this is all...
This is fighting over that mana short.
Okay. And Will is doing it in the mana short in response to the
Dreadnought.
The Dreadnought, okay. Because is there merit for Will to let the Dreadnought resolve and then have Tom go for a Vision Charm or Stifle and then do the fight, initiate the fight then? Because that makes Tom use another card. Because if you're because then you could just fight everything over a mana short. If that mana short resolves, I guess they could respond to the mana short with another Vision Charm or Stifle. So maybe that's not a good play.
Yeah, he's got a... I think it lets him use the mana short as a counter spell.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if he could like sequence it to get more value out of it, but I think it's very risky then because it just makes like redundant copies of Stifle or Vision Charm.
He has so many counter spells here.
Yeah, Tom has cast Counterspell, Foil, Counterspell.
Okay. Tom's like, I don't have it. Puts it on.
It just dies.
Just a massive bluff. All right, Will's going to untap. Tom has to be out of gas at this point.
He gushed.
Is he is untapping the Forsaken City. Going to try to slip that island back into play a little later. Just kidding.
Yeah, those islands, those are really aggressive islands. They're way up at the top. They're like, when they're tapped, they're like in the red zone.
One of those lands is removed from the game. Yeah. And now we're going to see a Chain of Weaver.
All right. that resolves. So after that huge sequence, I feel like Will comes off ahead. Though I mean, it's a
Yeah.
consolation prize for Tom of having it back in your hand. Like
I feel like I've seen that sequence a number of times with Stasis versus Dreadnought, where they like fight over the Dreadnought player manages to get the Dreadnought to resolve. Stasis player just untaps, bounces it.
yeah.
Um, Dreadnought Vision Charm. Yeah, that was one stacked hand from Tom. What is that? Chat. What is it? What got played?
How much mana was tapped?
Is that a brain freeze?
I think maybe. Yep. The brain freeze. Okay.
See, I just don't see this doing it. I don't know.
Got a Dreadnought and a Meddling Mage and some other stuff, but
Maybe the turn before when they had the gigantic counter war would have done something, but
I don't know if he had the luxury of. Well, here, that islands bother me.
get it. Thank you.
All right, there we go. All right.
He can play a stasis here, and the Dreadnought doesn't come back. That's kind of cool.
All right, Will has a gush, so after using a bunch of resources over those fights, that's a good card to have. Stu Summers has said, "What did I just see?"
It's a stasis. So this will keep the Dreadnought from coming back as long as it stays in play. Unless Tom also has an annul.
How many other cards does Tom have his hand right now?
It's going to be another gush from Will. I
guess this would be, well, Will doesn't have any mana floating, right? Like, is this I don't know. I'm just trying to think, like, how many resources, like, would Will want to foil?
I think he has 2 floating, because he just gushed.
Okay.
Because he played the first stasis off the other gush.
Right.
Mana. And gonna see.
Looks like it did get countered. There's another brain freeze.
Another brain freeze.
So that was gush, stasis, counterspell, brain freeze.
Yeah.
So Will has brought in at least 2 brain freeze. This one feels better than the last one. The last one felt.
Yeah, that's all the setup. He probably had 2 brain freezes, and he's just trying to.
That's fair.
Roll into this. Is this enough though?
I don't know. Also, like, yeah, when does Stifle get deployed?
15 mana, right? Did the brain freeze happen? The brain freeze happened on Tom's turn, right?
The first one?
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Well, how many Dreadnoughts are down? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think there's 10 cards left.
Yep.
And that face down card is not a morph, right?
It is a Phyrexian Dreadnought.
Oh, is it?
It's out. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know why I missed that. All right, there's a Chain of Vapor at the ready. Is that a chain? Or it has to be chain, right?
It is a Chain of Vapor.
Okay, I was thinking it was a daze. I'm like, that doesn't work.
I don't like chaining there. I would just take the 12 and go to my turn and try to chain.
Well, Tom would draw another card. He could
Yeah.
play a land because he had gushed. So there are merits, I think, to doing it in the upkeep. Oh,
Right.
oh, did he needs an exile card to do that? Yeah, okay. All right. He just untapped. All right.
Yeah.
The island was there because it was revealed to
Yeah.
Gush. All right, he's
We
got
have
another chain.
another chain of vapor. Yeah, especially if I have 2 chains, I definitely want to do it on my turn. Yeah. This Dreadnought deck is just firing over here. I mean, opt. Tom's gonna be a little careful here though, because he only has 10 cards left in his deck.
Yeah.
Thanks to the brain freeze. There's a foil. I think we'll just
What if
back.
Will has land brain freeze? Or he already played a land. Never mind.
I think that's gonna be it.
It's,
Couple dazes and disenchant in hand still.
yeah. So
And
the Dreadnought is able to take it down in the hands of Tom.
yeah.
And so the brain freeze plan, it was close. I mean, Tom had
Yeah.
few resources to work with at the end.
Yeah, I just don't. It just wasn't quite enough.
All right, let's
That
jump.
was the exact kind of game Brain Freeze is going to be good too, right? Like
Yeah.
they played many turns with nothing happening, and then I just turned the mics on. There's a lot of sighing come from Will.
Okay.
Can you hear us yet?
Hello, players.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, there's a lot going on in that match. And if you ever go back and watch it, we were talking about some random ass things. So, but
birds eating too many berries to fly.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
So, is it always the plan to go into the brain freeze sideboard? Is that plan, like in the sideboard games? Is that your main strategy, or is it kind of something you shift into, or is it depending?
It's part of it. You leave both threats in. You leave the vices in, because if I ever turn 1 vice, for the most part, it makes them have to move quicker. And then brain freeze is just another threat, and their stifles and everything just get stretched thin at some point. So you combine both of them.
Okay. Tom, how did you feel? Like you know that the brain freezes are there. Do you feel like the game? Do you feel pressured, even if there's not a black vice, to try and kill Will quickly because of a card like brain freeze?
Yes, game 1 I thought it was going to rely on meddling mage, and then post board it would be revolved around the brain freeze, so I had to kind of just go fast. Game 3 I couldn't really do that, but I just couldn't keep discarding, and my hand was getting pretty good. So once I was able to draw the stifle for the Dreadnought, I was like, I can go for it, because I had 2 gush and a foil, and then drawing into more foils and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Game 1, the meddling mage named Chain of Vapor to begin with, and then game 2, the meddling mage came down and named Stasis. So, what's the difference between those 2 games?
So it was kind of like how I planned for it to go. Like I thought Chain of Vapor was the most important card, and then I could just counter the Stasis.
I'm in the middle of something, Daniel.
But it was difficult because you gotta, like, I only had the 1 meddling mage for so long. I was hoping at least I would get a Dreadnought to get some counters out of his hand, or a second meddling mage, but that didn't happen for a while. But I think if I did see one of them sooner, I probably would have got game one. It was close. I didn't see a stifle either. Like he said, if I had the stifle, if I had stifle instead of vision charm when I did cast the dreadnought, I would have won. But I didn't have stifle.
Okay.
So that was awkward. Yeah, that's why like we did the whole like it's not coming back into play thing.
Well, I would say like I didn't realize that, and then you have the option of phasing out his Black Vice, and that gets rid of it.
Right.
And so that kind of changes the dynamic of that game one. If it comes down to Black Vice, but once the stasis comes down, your vision charms become a removal spell for Black Vice. So.
Yeah, it's I mean, full transparency. I forgot about the untap part.
Yeah, I did. I did too. So.
Yeah.
But if I had stifle though, I'm definitely stifling. Just because I was planning on having the vision charm out his Black Vice at some point, just to buy me a turn, like buy me time, like at the end of his turn or something. But if I knew it wasn't going to come back, I may have done it sooner. But yeah, I just kind of like was narrowing in on my game plan anyway, so I kind of wasn't going to go that way. But yeah, they were close games. I mean, that matchup is so draining. I'm not sure if that's entertaining. Like you and me and Will were kind of saying, it's draining. It's late, work, etc. Like, and just those two specifically against each other is it's long. The games just don't go too fast.
Yeah, what are your thoughts about the matchup or the games, Will?
I mean, they're definitely long. If you slip up and make inoptimal decisions, it will cost you. I know game 3, I discarded the annul for some dumb reason. Because if with the annul, I could have fought better and had I'm sure you had a stifle in your hand at some point for sitting for a brain freeze. But I could have at least kept the annul, and I could have double brain freezed on that one turn. I mean, and it really comes down to like game 2, you have the early pressure, and I'm forced to fight with not a lot of resources, and then game 3, I'll have to double check. I mean, I felt confident with the stuff I had, and after all the milling, but Tom just had enough in the reserve, even after all that, to kind of push through 3 Chain of Vapors, which was
his hand seemed super stacked once he went for it. It's like just like, wow, he has another counter. That's crazy. I don't know.
I'm in the middle of something, please.
By how much they had.
All right, fine.
Gush is really good. So.
Did you draw into it, I assume? Or was it in your hand? Don't worry, it's not going to break my heart anymore.
Wait, which one specifically? Which one?
The foil on the last.
No, I had the one foil for a while, and then once I drew Gush, the Dreadnought turn, I was like, oh, it's time. So
yeah, makes sense.
Gush is it helps you turn the corner and do your thing.
Because the brain freeze got you down to, was it like 10 cards?
I had 12.
12, okay.
12, yeah. No, I just couldn't quite. I didn't find the stasis earlier. I would have pushed it through earlier.
Do you go down on stasises?
No, I had all my stasises. I left all my weapons in. I took out like a foil. I took out a land. Took out some other things I'd have to remember. I liked having all the variety of threats in there to stretch Tom's resources as we went. But it's a resource game, and Tom had all the resources game 3 he needed. I didn't quite get there, and that's just the way that goes. It's a tough matchup. It's rough, and it's heartbreaking, and all that good stuff.
All right. Well, I won't keep you guys any longer. I know it's kind of late for you guys, so job well done to both of you. Congratulations, Tom. Condolences, Will. But yeah, that matchup was a lot of back and forth and was pretty fun, especially. Some people don't like the blue. I mean, it's not even like a.
I love it. I love watching that matchup.
Yeah,
it's
love definitely
all the interplay and all the decisions, and like just thinking about like, well, what do each of them have?
Well,
I thought both played great.
Yeah, you guys are both able to like sculpt the game to try and get the game into a certain position, and you have a lot of agency of how the game goes, and I think it's really interesting to try and like position yourself for that one big turn. So. Unless you guys have something else to add, we'll let you guys go, and we'll get our players set up for our last round of the night.
No, thanks,
Sounds
guys.
good.
Good games,
Take
Will.
care.
All right.
Yep, good games.
All right, so that is our third round. We will be right back. We have one more round. It is Lanny and Jeff White. So we'll take a quick
All
break
right.
as we get them set up. We will be right back, so don't go anywhere.